Good. Well, I want to talk about Agrisol just real quick because that is my biggest pet peeve. He, of all people, is a young pitcher coming up here. That was 2 outs, bases loaded, a grounder, a weak one. Did you see how he was running?
Yeah.
Now, to me, he comes right out of the game at that point. I'm not going to tolerate that.
They would argue that he's a pitcher.
I don't care that he's a pitcher.
Well,
do you care that he's a pitcher?
They would argue that he's a pitcher, and they don't want him pulling his hamstring on a ground ball like that.
It's become that fragile.
I'm just saying they would. I bet
what
you they
would.
would.
You do?
Well, I mean, my teams would all play the right way, so I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, mine would too, and I think it's important to make people aware that this is unacceptable. Anyway, let's go to Mike in Bethel Park. Kicks us off here tonight. What's up, Mike? How are you?
Yeah, hey guys, how you doing?
We're good, thanks.
Yeah, hey, do you think possibly with Antonio with this, is that going to affect the next CBA with guaranteed contracts? Because teams might be worried about getting smoked like this.
No. If anything, they're trying for more guaranteed money. I think the next CBA is going to be real nasty, and I think you'll see a drawn-out affair that jeopardizes some of the season. So no, I don't think that'll be a problem. Paul, I want to ask you one thing. I do say, and I mean this. There's a part of me that's I feel sad for Antonio Brown if he is dealing with something that we don't know, and I'm talking about mentally that a lot of people. Because if that's the case, then all this irrational behavior, and we have seen it with other guys, totally irrational behavior who've gone through this. So if that's the case, then I feel bad for a guy like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if he does have that, then he needs to have some of his friends or need to pull him aside and get him checked out or whatever. He's got the resources to obviously deal with it. So I just think he's a guy who's an incredible narcissist who doesn't think the rules apply to him, and he's acting like a spoiled little brat and a baby because the Raiders did something the Steelers apparently couldn't do, and that is stood up to him.
Right. Well, I think you can say what you want about how Mike Tomlin handled the situation. I do know they got a lot out of him as far as a production level. So you can say whatever you want to say. They got the best out of Antonio Brown.
He might still be here, though, in producing if they'd have started when he was a rookie.
Yeah, but I think it went out of control at the end. I really do. Much more so than even the Facebook Live, which I hated. I thought they should have suspended him for that. But I thought this season, and to me, the triggering mechanism was Juju Smith-Schuster winning the team MVP. Once, it could have been anyone else, but Juju, he takes everything very jealously. I mean, he's a 31-year-old guy. What did he do today? He unfollowed his quarterback, Derek Carr, and the team that now supposedly pays him, although he may not get it.
Is what he is. He's a clown. Antonio Clown is what his name should be.
Chest. Let's go to line one. It's Pete in Squirrel Hill. What's up, Pete?
Hey, guys. How are you tonight?
We're good. Thanks.
A comment, a question, Bob. Comment number one. Anybody would spend their hard-earned money to go watch those teams play baseball tonight over there out of their mind because neither one of the teams know how to play baseball. But my question is, Bob, Tony Dungy was a guest on Pardon the Interruption today. Tony Kornheiser asked him about the Brown situation, and he said he feels bad for Brown and the Raiders. Bob, Antonio Brown doesn't have cancer.
Why did he feel bad? What did he say? Why?
No, because Tony Kornheiser didn't have the guts to ask him that. But you choose to be an idiot in life, Bob, and you choose to not be an idiot when you're afflicted with like a cancer, leukemia, genetic disposition, or something like your hereditary factor. That's different. I can understand why.
The only thing I'm saying, Pete, is that if it is CTE, sometimes, from what I know, and I talked to a few doctors about this over the, when all that became an issue, they say you don't know and you can't find symptoms other than irrational behavior. But if it could be a lot of things. But in the end, if they found out that is the case, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, that's.
Yeah, I mean, again, the whole point to me is he's been a narcissist his entire career. He just has a lot more money and power now.
Yeah, and he does think he's above everything. And I'll tell you what, Mike Mayock has put. Well, first of all, John Gruden has put Mike Mayock in a bad situation. I think Gruden was the guy who pushed for this more than anyone. You can say Mayock is the GM. Gruden is calling the shots. Gruden thinks he can convert somebody like that.
Yeah, no, they all do.
They all do.
They all think, we'll get him in our system and we'll be the team that straightens him out.
Yeah, they brought in Vontaze Burfict, too, in the same year, too. Let's go out to line 4, and that would be Nunzio and Braddock. What's up, Nunzio?
What's up, Paul? How's it going tonight?
Good. What's going on with you?
Just too much. AB. We're in Pittsburgh. He's not here no more.
Yeah, but it's the gift that doesn't stop giving to you. People love talking about it.
You guys need to quit giving him free advertising.
We're not.
Such a jerk.
How is it free advertising? It only hurts him. It's, if anything, it's hurting all of his brand. I mean, it's not that.
What kind of brand could he possibly have?
Well, he's destroying his own brand, is what we're saying.
Yeah, but his brand has suffered so much that he'll never be back. If they drop him like they say they're going to drop him, if they cut him, who's going to drop? Nobody.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Nuzio. Let's go out to Bob in Indiana, who joins us on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. What's up, Bob?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Bob.
Sure.
Hey, what reason to watch the Pirates anymore is Reynolds. He actually hit number 16 in the ninth inning home run.
So he hit the home run.
Bell hit another one. He got 36 now. But what I'm calling about is Diaz is not a catcher at all. They need to get rid of him. You know, a guy at the plate coming in and the ball is right to him, he misses it. Pass balls again. And Moran, he gets the ball third. He don't know whether to eat the ball or throw it or what to do. He's not a third baseman. It's just awful to watch. It's just like Little Leaguers playing.
All right, Bob. Paul, what's their biggest need in the offseason, aside from pitching? Because I think we all agree, not only do they need one, they need two bona
pitchers. They need pitchers, obviously, and they also need a catcher. There's no question about it. And, you know, I would say they probably also need at least one more fielding infielder. One guy, you know, somebody, you know, if Hayes is not ready or whatever, they need a third baseman. They need another corner infielder. But they definitely need a catcher, and they definitely need pitching.
Now, here's the other dilemma I see real quick here. We'll go to a break, and that would be outfield. Gregory Polanco's out. His shoulder's not responding. His shoulder may never be the same, which means he may never be the same. So there's a thought out there about Marte playing or being traded. I would never trade Marte right now because he man center, Reynolds, those two are pretty reliable to me. If I trade Marte, it leaves me with the big vacancies in the outfield. Instead, I would trade Vasquez. I still would trade Vasquez because I do not, and if they're real with themselves, they'll realize they're not a team that needs a closer.
Right. No, of course they. I mean, if they're real with themselves, and then the other thing is they've been able to find closers.
Right.
I mean, you know, you look at their line of closers. I mean, to me, that he's going to bring back a lot. I don't know if they have the luxury of trading Marte because they don't have any outfielders left.
Right.
They have Reynolds.
Nothing.
That's it. And you know, Polanco's hurt. You know, the Martin kid and the Reyes kid, if they have either one of those slated to be a starter in the outfield next year, then let's cancel the season because they're not going to be good enough.
We're due for a break. We'll take it. 412-575-2600 right here live on Pittsburgh CW.